this is GeoWill from Productions², and we are back to do another reaction for the Expanse. We're going to be doing episode 5 today. Let's go over my notes for episode 4 though and see what happened. It's been a while since I watched it, so let's see. Dockmaster's in on it. So I think this is talking about the Dockmaster at Mars, the one where Bobby was working. She went to him and told him about the whole plot to steal that encryption stuff, encryption technology, and the Dockmaster basically said, try to get her to go to the guy and get cut in for a deal on it to be quiet about it, or was trying to talk Bobby into doing whatever. So I thought maybe he was in on it, and it turns out that he probably wasn't, but was trying to just get in like a side deal kind of thing on there, get some money out of it for keeping him quiet. So yeah, the Sojourner was essentially boarded and commandeered, and they apparently took it and chopped it up and sold off. I said chopped up, said it was broken down but not sold. But I think they did say they were selling it, so I should have crossed that out. I think I remember that. We found out that the Belters did blow up the pad on the new planet, on Ilis. So that was them. Specifically Lucia, who is the doctor, the Belter doctor. We met a new character. Trying to see if I wrote down his name anywhere. Don't think I did. But basically, this guy that Ashford's been looking for, that they suspect is behind the group that's been attacking ships around the system, is actually Naomi's ex-husband, I guess, or boyfriend, significant other, whatever. And their kid that they have, Marco's his name. And then they have then Philip, who is their son. We learned about that. Well, we knew that she had a son, but we didn't know. We hadn't seen the character yet. That either of the characters yet. So we've seen Marco. So there was this interesting dialogue going on in the episode where Marco, who's got that same kind of level of charisma, is able to use it to persuasively manipulate people, like a lot of the despots and authoritarians throughout history have been able to do. He starts making this argument about how the Belters shouldn't be fighting with each other; they should be fighting the Inners. Basically, the old OPA kind of mentality, versus working with the Inners and kind of lifting up the belt on the back of the Belters, or lifting up the system on the back of the Belters, like status quo. And so there's this point where Kamina had to make a choice between causing a civil war within the Belt, or potentially starting a new war with the Inners. And I think she made the right choice, because I think that the chance that they end up going to war with the Inners is a lot less than what would have happened if they didn't. Basically, Marco said, persuaded two other factions to side with him, and if Kamina hadn't chosen to side with them, there definitely would have been a war between the two. The two sub factions or conglomerate factions. I don't know. There would have been basically two. The OPA would have been split. They would have been fighting each other. Essentially, is what would have happened. Ashford voted to not do what Marco proposed. He voted to basically to execute Marco for what he had been doing. So that's kind of an interesting turning point in that episode. Let's see. So I have this theory that the drug guy, because I don't think they said his name yet, arranged the whole situation with the doc. So the whole not only the stealing of the encryption technology, but also the previous thing where Bobby was essentially marked as a person, a suspicious person of interest, and the murder. I think there was somebody that was murdered, and they found the body in the docks. In order to set up a situation of a string of events that would lead Bobby to have to accept his offer to join him, to work for him. That was my theory on this whole arc Bobby's been going through. It's all been manipulated by this guy who wants to get her onto his team because she's a kick-ass Marine, or is a kick-ass former Marine, but not an ex-Marine, and thinks that he can use her talents to do whatever he's doing, which seems to be selling Martian technology to whoever wants to buy it, whoever can afford it, afford its price. So Eyeless is basically becoming some sort of proto-molecule hellscape. After the electrical storms that Holden causes stop, all kinds of other crazy crap starts happening. There's this spire that comes up out of the ground and starts like clearing land out of the way of something, and there's other such spires coming up all over the place. There's also there's like these two islands that they were showing that had massive heat signatures underneath them, as if some sort of machinery was either running or something was powering up. So I think whatever's going on there is either going to come to a head this or the next episode, which should be interesting. So the RCE, the security company working for the company that's trying to do the, well, I think it's like a feasibility study on Eyeless, has started to try and assert control over both the settlement on Eyeless and also on the Edward Israel that's up in orbit. They've basically cut out all communications and two other out of the system that they're in, and have started taking over key systems on the Edward Israel, presumably under Mitri's command. And then I wrote down Opressor is winning, so I think that's reference to the fact that the campaign that Opressor is waging against the Homeland Secretary is paying off, and she's actually up in the polls again now. That was my stuff for episode 4. So, let's go ahead and get this set up here. Okay, so episode 5. The title of it is The Oppressor, or just Oppressor. Let's get to it. This must be on Earth. Or is it?
Careful.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's powerful stuff.
You said that remote even worked.
Oh, okay. Showing them setting up the bomb on the launch pad. Okay.
Come here to kill people.
That is what I say it is. Whatever happened, therefore.
Oh, interesting. Their original plan was just to blow up their ship, not to kill them.
Just knocked you out. Well,
I need to go back real quick. Sorry about this.
This isn't what we planned. I did not come here to
I think
kill
I missed something important
that's
right
why I
there.
say it is.
I was writing.
Whatever happened there for?
Oh, she tried to blow it early. That's what happened. So they're up in space now. Okay. That's right, they took off
You're okay.
in the last episode.
I'll be fine.
I had a shot.
You're so fucking weird.
In here!
Shit.
Yes, he is very weird. That's why we like his character. Because he is that guy. That was like the perfect line for Amos in this whole series. I am that guy.
We have a situation.
I'm well aware.
How could he not be holding out there raging?
One way or another, we all answer for what we've done. Tell everyone's pack.
That was a
Are
threat.
we really leaving?
Who the fuck cares about any of this?
Food allotment will be a key campaign issue.
James Holden and a bunch of Belters are fucking up our first exploration of an alien world.
Nurturing. The caring family matriarch attested.
Get the fuck out.
She didn't like that. She.
Caring matriarch.
It's an election debate. A lot worse, and there will be a next thing.
You have no way of knowing that.
He actually does.
He actually does.
Get everyone off the planet.
He actually does.
With this RC's,
You might want to get that checked out. Squatter camp hygiene makes for all sorts of nasty infections. Just itches.
Dr. Okoye,
What the hell?
I understand you
Green
sold
eye.
in-
Is that some new sort of proto-molecule crap? Maybe?
Oh, my Erter sweethearts.
What the fuck do you want?
Oh, jeez. You want your weapons.
I want to talk to you.
This isn't a great time.
I don't care.
You seem angry. At me?
Look at what you did.
Exactly where the lightning started.
Putting two and two together.
The underground structures. Well,
I won't even know where to begin.
oh, for fuck's sake. Well, those gunshots.
Yeah, I think those were good shots.
I don't see why she wouldn't. Chances are tomorrow I'll be all over the news feeds back home.
Fantastic.
I was like, damn it, I'm gonna hear from Mozzarella about this.
Do enjoy the clarity of these moments. Now you see what I've been working with. Special
Tree.
victims and martyrs. And no word about
Or
the bombs
Mercury.
that they've thrown, the bodies they've stacked up.
Our first question comes from the North American Trade Zone.
This should be interesting.
With all the uncertainty regarding the alien worlds outside the ring,
Well, I guess it's Martian technology, so they would have obviously ways to deal with bleeding in zero G. I think they were talking more about in general with the ships they had in the ring. Just trying to square the reality of what happened while they were in the ring and
They got a solid position.
what happened here.
Good cover of
Um,
the epic fight.
I'm unarmed!
Oh shit.
What's he doing?
Just being him. Yeah, being him. Exactly.
I have already requested changes that would close that loophole
Going
and
for the
make the
throat.
system.
I'm thinking that gal's involved. We'll see. I'll write that down as a hypothesis, as a thing that we'll see what happens with.
Attack reactor control program. He had a way to insert them into inner ships. Then we could turn off the drive, leave them on the drift, rescue them for a price later. And it wouldn't look like piracy because they'd be so grateful that we saved them. At least that was the story he told me.
Then you turn around
First one we tried was
blew them up.
busting Gamara.
I know that name.
No, Jaleel. It was the one that blew up in the docks at Luna. Because the man I loved, the father of my child, used my code to overload the reactor. We killed 516 people. And he meant to do it again.
I had a vision when I was inside the ring station.
Oh, the ghost didn't tell you, but the vision did. I can see why you didn't tell him. There is no version of this where we abandon our charter and we leave these squatters and murderers in possession of this planet.
You're nothing but thieves, so you came here to steal everything.
And there it goes again. Amos is like, alright, it's almost time to shoot somebody. Yeah, old man made it much worse, I think. The hell?
Oh my god.
What the hell? Was that a nuclear explosion? Okay, let's pause this. I'm gonna write that down because that was like literally a nuclear explosion. Alright, so there was a lot of crap that happened there. Holy damn. Yeah. Okay, so, the episode opens up with this flashback to what the plan actually was supposed to be. So what they were going to do is they were going to allow them to come down, leave the ship, and take all the gear off. Then they were going to blow it up. But they came down 10 hours earlier than they thought they were going to. And the Belters thought they were going to. And so they decided to blow it up as soon as it landed. Just basically killing everyone and blowing the entire thing up. Lucia didn't want to do that. Was arguing against it. They knocked her out, started driving away. She comes back around and asks what happened and sees the ship coming down. Grabs the detonator and sets it off, and that's why the ship kind of exploded in midair. Now, she probably saved people doing that, though. Still, a bunch of people died. I don't know if they knew that the things had attacked them at that point, so it's probably part of why the ship was damaged so badly, basically torn apart, because it was already structurally compromised. So the explosion's shockwave probably did the rest and ripped the whole thing apart, and that's why what happened. But she probably did save quite a few people's lives from that. Otherwise, everybody would have died if the other people in the group had managed to blow it up after it landed. Everybody would have died from that. So Mercury threatens Holden. So they were discussing punishments and things like that. Holden basically said that he wasn't going to let Mercury get away without having some sort of blame placed on him for what had happened on the planet, and Mercury does the same. Says that everyone gets what's coming to them one way or another, essentially. So I view that as a threat against Holden. He's saying that eventually, some way or another, what you've done is going to catch up with you too. And then there was a little scene where Mercury was telling some people up in the Edward Israel to take a shuttle and turn it into a bomb. Maybe he's thinking about using it on the Rocinante, or maybe on one of the, or maybe using it as a, I don't know. But that's a thing, so that happened. There's this weird little throwaway scene with one of the RCE employees having a green crap around her eye. Don't know what that's about. Doctors seem to say it was like some sort of infection, but maybe it's something to do with the protomolecule. I don't know. So Lucia started bleeding out, but she's still alive. They managed to cauterize the artery that was bleeding and save her. Though she wanted to die. Her daughter's missing, and she got in an argument with her husband, and basically she wanted to just peace out. So then, another major thing that happened was the Belters took some hostages. They captured some RC employees and stole their weapons and got some more weapons from somewhere. And then took them hostage and are using them to threaten everyone, if they want to leave, but not to try and force them to leave, basically. And Murtry is basically not going to have any of that. And he's planning to gas the entire settlement and forcibly remove them. So there was this thing that happened. So back on Earth, they were having a debate for the Secretary General election, and during it, there was a situation that happened where there was a ship coming in on a collision course with a asteroid around Earth that's contained an early warning defense system in it, and the UN decided to treat it as a threat, so they canceled interrupted the debate and pulled the Opressor out of there. They scanned the ship and found that the drive signature of the ship pretty closely matches the drive signature of the Sojourner. So this is definitely a ship, potentially either an actual attack on Earth from that OPA separatist group, or they put the drive there on that ship, which was a legitimate ship that was having issues, or that they sabotaged to have issues, so that Opressor would destroy it, because she'd think, okay, this is a ship that the Belters stole and commandeered and obviously then stripped parts and was reusing it for things, and would blow it up, but it would have just civilians on it. And under the second line of reasoning, then that means that potentially Gal is involved with the separatist group. Maybe they're doing it to try and get her into power, to try and change the policies that Opressor is trying to implement for the expansion to the New Worlds. Gal wants to do more, seems to want to do more of a fast and loose thing, where you basically take all the people that don't have any jobs and want to go and try and make a better life for themselves, let them go out and just colonize these worlds haphazardly and however they want to do it. And allow, it's basically free settlement of any world that anyone can find that's habitable. So that's an interesting thing, and we'll see how that plays out. That's a theory I have, that Gal's somehow involved with all that. Which also means then that she's probably also involved with the stuff going on with Mars, which is also interesting. Got a little bit more backstory for Naomi, which is kind of insane considering it's the 4th season. Which new friggin' backstory. Naomi and Marco used to be part of the OPA, the hardcore OPA. Marco had, I think Naomi developed a way to inject a program into engine systems to manipulate them in whichever way you want to. And Marco had the idea of how to use it, in terms of how to get a bunch of money to then use for the OPA to get ships and parts and things like that. He had suggested that they take it, use it to disable ships, and then come back later and offer to help fix their ships for getting paid, for a bunch of money. Instead, what had happened is that Marco used this thing to blow up a ship in a dock at Luna that ended up killing, I think she said like 500 something people. When Naomi said she wasn't going to do that, allow him to do that anymore, or not work with them to do that anymore, he basically cut her off, told her she couldn't see Philip anymore, and left her. And that's when Naomi kind of left I don't think she ever left the OPA, but no longer was participating with the more hardcore OPA that was actually doing terrorist stuff. Actually committing terrorist attack against Mars and the UN. And then the episode ends with a nuclear explosion. So that's going to be a thing to see what the hell is going to happen with that. Interesting episode. Things are going about how I thought they would in terms of the story pacing. It definitely seems like this world is not a world, it's some kind of proto-molecule machine, probably. Question is, what type of machine? Is it another station, maybe? Potentially? Is it a, maybe some sort of prototype of a station? Maybe it's proto-molecule related insofar as it's not actually proto-molecule related, it's related to the thing that the proto-molecule was trying to do. Well, if that was the case, it would have blown up that system. True. So it must be something related to the proto-molecule somehow. Maybe it's a manufacturing facility for the proto-molecule. I don't know, we'll find out. So, got any comments, questions? Leave them below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And I will see you for the next one.